Mm, okay. Hi.
Hi.
How are you?
Hola. Muy bien, muy bien.
Okay,
¿Y
now
tú?
you're with the Spanish.
Yes. I've been trying to learn a little bit of Spanish
Okay.
throughout these last 3 months, and I have about three solid phrases.
But like for real, like you are trying to learn Spanish. I thought like you had been listening to this and that or like people telling you stuff. Or
No, no, no. I take about 1 to 2 hours a day, and I try to study as much as possible,
why?
and I try to remember it
Why
because
Spanish?
it's something that I've always wanted to do, learn another language.
Okay.
And when I was in the skating world competing, I thought I would learn Russian
That's
because the
hard.
mass crowd is basically Russian. But then when I started touring professionally, I realized that Spanish would be so much
Yeah.
more beneficial for me, and I could have more conversations with you.
True. Yeah, you were here recently or well, recently was like a year ago for
Yeah.
your tour for Cirque du Soleil, right?
Yes. I was there last summer,
Yeah.
and I think that Mexico was my favorite country to tour with Crystal. I wish we had done way more cities because those 4 weeks flew by like that. It was nuts.
Did you feel the difference in the crowd, like from Mexicans? I hear that a lot.
Oh
Like,
my God. Oh yeah, yeah. Like we knew that we were gonna, the roof was gonna blow at every
yeah,
show, and every time we got to a new city, we started in Guadalajara, and then we went to Monterrey, and then Mexico. And every time that we moved city, the crowds got better and better and better,
yeah,
which was good because we also increased in altitude, so it was harder to do the show.
that's
So it
so
was
true.
nice. It was
Yeah,
nice to have the support of the fans, and they had done their research about the show. They knew what it was about. They knew a little bit of the storyline. They understood that it wasn't a typical skating show. It
okay.
was a show on ice, but it was not just figure skaters. Even in the skaters, there's freestyle skaters, figure skaters, extreme skaters, and that's not even half our cast. The other half is all acrobats
Yeah.
that do crazy stuff.
And you learned a lot of acrobatics for it, huh?
I've I've had a small background doing gymnastics, but I didn't really excel at that because I decided to focus only on figure skating. So
Okay.
when I got the opportunity to do Cirque du Soleil, I decided I'm going to learn new stuff. I want to show a different side to my skating. Obviously, I could do the backflip on ice, but I always wanted to tumble on ice. And I've been learning that a little bit, um, doing the front walkover, back walkovers,
What's it
and
over? I'm a skate.
yeah.
I'm only a skater. Remember that.
Oh, it's basically a backflip,
Oh,
but
so you put
using
your
the
hand there?
hands. Exactly. You use your hands, and there's a whole new technique to it because you have skates on. You can't be on the blade part, you have to be on the toe picks, but because you're on the toe picks and going backwards, you can't fire like you would
True.
for a jump. And your hands can slip at any time, so
Oh,
you
so it's
need
on the ice. Like actually, you're landing on the ice. Are
absolutely.
you
And you
wearing
can do,
anything on your hands with like, like I don't know, like what do you call like screws or something like to like?
yeah, like
Oh, okay.
spikes.
It's facts.
Yeah, and the first time that I did it in the show, I was using the spikes.
Yeah.
And right after the number where I do that, we have a big group choreography that we call the office. And we're all sitting in an office. Well, it looks like
I've
an
seen the
office.
pictures. I
It,
think it's a really great costume for that. You have like a
mhm.
suitcase and
The
basically, I mean,
3D shirt, we
it,
look like an origami.
yeah. No, it's not called a suitcase. What's it called? Like a briefcase.
Oh yeah, the briefcase. And well, for that number, there's a lot of really weird choreography where you're touching your head.
Okay.
And I had forgotten that I was wearing those gloves with the huge spikes. So I started doing the choreography as if I wasn't wearing the spikes.
And you were
So
like cut off in your face.
within like 10 seconds, I was like, oh my God, what am I doing? Don't mess up the choreography, but stop touching your face.
Wow.
So I learned quite fast. So for the rest of the number, I didn't know if my makeup was all gone or basically turned red from injuring myself, but they were just small little
Well, then
cuts,
you can
nothing
go like
huge.
that, and it's like still like
I know, just
sassy
like
this other way. Oh no, I lost something. Hold on. I lost my questions for you. Um,
ooh.
so how? I mean, I just so listen. A lot of people is gonna come on and off, and I try to do like off this like a podcast. So
And
it
they're gonna
seems like
ask,
more people have been liking it.
good. And do you have a pregunta for me?
I have many preguntas for you, and
Okay.
one I have like a criticism, a really bad criticism for you.
Ooh, let's start with that one.
Well, first of all, like I know you have this like amazing career, and then I look you up online to have like all these weird questions for you and like throw you off your game, and it just turns out that it's like not really updated. You're like what's it called?
Yeah.
Wikipedia. Like, what? Why is that not updated? And like, you have all this like amazing life, and like it's just like, and he was a junior, this and that, and novice champion. And I'm like, yeah,
hmm
but get to the juicy stuff, and you need an update, man.
I know, especially in those times that social media is so accessible,
Yeah,
but I'm not the type of person that's going to try to fill up my career
yeah,
with small little things. Like if you ask me to write three things about my career, I would probably just write two. Um,
okay.
I don't
Well,
know.
we
I
need those
want,
two right now. Like, tell us, what is it?
well, it
Tell me
would
the
be
gossip.
uh, participating to the Olympics and pursuing a professional career. Like for me, those are my highlights. Yes, I've won medals at Grand Prix events. I've competed at Worlds. I've won various medals at national championships. I was right behind Patrick Chan at my nationals when he was the world champion.
Yeah.
He was unbeatable. But all of those things to me are great, but I don't want to bring them up all the time. I want,
Well, I would have brought them up, but like it was
okay.
very like superficial. Like I think they named Emmanuel once. Like you were about to get on third spot at some point, and like that's about it. Like they never mentioned Patrick on your Wikipedia. So
hmm
I don't know. So I need you to tell us everything, because then I don't know. People want to know about you. A lot of people were excited, like, oh, you're gonna talk to him. Like you brought him to Monterey once. Like that should be in your Wikipedia. Like I choreographed for Anna once.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, I I think I'd rather talk about like the future than what I've done in the past. But
Right.
it's true. If I start looking at the past, I'm so proud of various things that I've done. So many people, they just focus on one thing and they achieve stuff in that one little corridor. But if you look at my career, it's true that I've widened that
Yeah.
every single opportunity that I've had. And I was I have to say, I was quite successful at a lot of things that I embarked and that I tried,
Yeah.
while other people wanted me to stay in my lane. But no, I did it my own way, and it's true. I should really update what I've done, and that may trampoline me even faster into my future project.
Maybe. I mean, there's a question here. Sophia, I don't know if you ever met Regina and Sophia, but anyway, there's these two great skater sisters, and Sophia is super flexible. And
Yeah,
she
with
asked
the
if,
Billman.
yeah, what age can she join the Cirque, and like if there's anything for kids. I bet there is.
Um, Cirque du Soleil before was a little bit more family oriented, and sometimes you would have some acrobats that would have their sons or daughters and wives on tour with them.
Okay.
And sometimes there were small parts in the show where the kids could do the show. They weren't forced to do it. It was really at their own will. And that stopped about 5 or 6 years ago.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And I think the minimum age is 18.
Okay.
Yeah, I think at 18 you can get hired, but maybe there's one show where there's a particular number where it's 16.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, it seems like the whole like performing world has like raised that age for a while now. I don't know, like it just seems like I did see kids and like when there was like champions and I, there was like different feel and different numbers, and now it's just changed. I don't know, like maybe I could be wrong because I never did shows. I wouldn't know.
Yeah, I've done a couple of shows more in Europe. And in Europe, because they have all of those amazing upcoming Russian skaters,
Okay.
a big chunk of the show was like about those kids coming and doing their numbers and doing all those triples and attempting quads. Uh,
Yeah.
so that's the only experience I've had with kids that were invited to shows. So if she wants to join the circus, she can wait until she's 18. But if she wants to do those professional shows, get those quads going. You'll be invited like
The
that.
easiest way is just to get the quad.
Exactly.
So
No,
how old were you when you started skating?
I was 9 when I stared figure skating, but
Oh, wow.
prior to that, I had skated outside on
Okay.
frozen ponds, and I tried playing hockey. My brother was a hockey player for a while, and you know, as brothers, I would see him play hockey, and I told myself, why not try it? I tried it for a couple of seasons, but not really for me. I'm too small. I'm not meant.
You're about
I'm
my
not built.
size.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm like 5'4", but probably lying.
And I don't know, like, how did you decide to try do figure skating instead?
I liked skating, but I didn't like the game of hockey. Well, I like watching it, but I didn't like participating in it.
Okay.
So the only two other option at that moment was speed skating and figure skating. And speed skating was not something that was available where I grew up, but figure skating was.
Okay.
So I talked to my parents about it a little bit, and I just had one concern. I didn't want to wear white skates.
Okay.
That was like my only concern. So my dad ordered me a pair of black figure skates, but they didn't arrive on time before my first figure skating lesson. So I actually did my first figure skating lesson with hockey skates.
Oh, okay. Well, that's not
So
bad.
yeah, but my coach at that time was like very confused.
Like
He's
rough
like,
sport.
yeah, he thought I wanted to learn how to skate
Okay.
and didn't understand why I was taking figure skating lessons. So it took a little while before he understood that I had black skates in the mail, but they didn't arrive yet. And I actually kept that coach until I was 15. So I
Who
had
was
him
the
for
coach?
6 years. Robert Léger,
Okay.
Robert Léger.
You're just
And
showing off. I can't French.
and he brought me all the way up to novice national champion.
Yeah, you were. Yeah, you
So
were.
yes.
Wow.
Yeah, so I started at 9. And by the time I was 11, I had a double axel and a triple salchow.
Okay, so something really like interesting that I want to mention about you. I think one of the first times I kind of skated with you, not like, oh, I met you at a competition. I think you were at the cricket, and like
Hmm.
I was like, you know, like my jaw dropped because you were like, okay, let's see how many triple loops I can do in a row, and I think you did like 20, and you're like triple loop and triple loop, triple loop. But this is the big combinations guy. Like he's not trying just like one and then going around. He's like da 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 da. And I was like, I'm just gonna go take my skates off over there. This is not gonna happen. You were so
I'm
amazing.
I'm a bit of a show off,
Well,
but if you look at my competition, you couldn't see that.
no,
Like I look at my competition and I see a total different skater, a skater that is absolutely petrified of
but
being
that
watched,
makes
being
no sense.
judged. I know, like me, I love training. I love pushing myself. I love being outgoing and just showing off. But when it came time to compete, my body did not accept the stress level. It's like some people get good stress. My stress was like, oh, I can't even, just thinking about it, I feel so full of anxiety. And I don't know why that was.
I have this image of you telling me like, this is why I do this other thing. I don't know if we can talk about this. It's been like 10 years since like,
Mhm.
no, maybe like 12 years since that four continents when you were like, this is not water. But I don't know if like we're allowed to talk about this.
Yeah, I'm totally fine with it.
Okay, well, let's talk about it.
My
So like
coach had
he's not
tried
yeah, okay, you
my
tell
coach had tried absolutely everything for me to like relax, be myself, and just not
me.
be as stressed. Yeah. So one competition, she forced me to drink half a half a glass of red wine. And that competition, I did amazing. So for like the 5 or 6 next competition, we applied that. So never more than half a glass of red wine. And I don't know if it really worked on the physical side or it was more like a mental thing.
Yeah.
But for some reason, I would warm up off ice 1 hour before my warm up on ice. I would have half my cup of red wine. I was legal drinking age,
Yeah, true.
and for some reason it kind of calmed me down. I was like, oh, I can't be that stressed, or else I wouldn't have wine right now.
Yeah. And
And
I can say
so,
that we're of legal age because we're the same age, and like 12 years ago,
yeah,
we're like 22, 23.
exactly. So yeah, uh, we tried that, and it wasn't the first thing that we tried. We tried yoga, we tried ballet, we tried relaxing, we tried mental coaches. Like we tried absolutely everything. So
I
that's the
like
only thing that worked for me.
I like that you're mentioning mental coaches because at some point when you came and visited here, I wanted to kill you a little bit because I have a couple of
Hmm.
a couple of mental skaters, and I was like, okay, I've had tried everything, and I wanted this girl, like one of these girls, to try like a mental coach because she was so amazing.
Hmm.
And you're like, no, they don't work, and I was like, shut up. And you're like, they don't work. They don't work at all. Shut up. Like, don't go to them. They're just people, and they don't work. I was like, shut up. And you just,
I don't,
I don't know.
in my mind, I have, if you can't fix yourself, how the hell are you going to fix somebody else?
True.
And for me, it's true for my experience, mental coaches didn't really work. And I didn't go in those meetings backwards. Like I went there 100% um, thinking that it would work. And at the end of the day, it just didn't work. I know it worked on other people,
Yeah.
like my red wine worked on me. So I think everybody has a different strategy and different ways to compete better.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well, I
yeah.
remember like sports psychologists that would be like, hey, I can put myself into and out of situations, but at least I feel like I'm backed up by, like I remember going to the cricket and was there and she's like, I don't know, had her personal trainer and her psychologist.
Hmm.
I was like, well, what does she have that like, what else do I need? Like, what does an Olympic competitor have? Like, just to feel like you're backed up. And that helped me, like having that security that
Yeah.
I'm doing everything that I can. So like I was trying to make this girl feel that, and maybe I don't know, maybe they would actually fix her head. And if she's on, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
like we talked
But
about this. I was like, don't listen to Shawn. He doesn't know what he's talking about. He's perfect on the ice,
he's
but who scared.
He's a loco.
Loco, so loco.
But thinking back now, I think why the mental coach I had didn't work, it's because there was a weird triangle between me, my mental coach, and my on ice coach,
Okay.
Annie Barabé. And there was a connection.
Yeah.
There were communications going on with my mental coach and my skating coach. So the things I would tell my coach would tell my mental coach, and vice versa. So I
You felt
didn't
betrayed.
really, exactly.
Huh.
And so I would always be very careful of what I would say to one, and then the story would end up being completely not perceived the same way by the other one because they would chat with each other. So yeah, betrayal is a little bit of that.
Well, I
And
mean, what I try to tell people, and this is, I think we don't have to talk about mental coaching anymore, but like a sports psychologist is not a psychologist. So sometimes like the actual psychologist asks me like, how is she doing? And like, it's not betrayal.
mhm,
Like, well, he's going to give you, because it's a guy usually for me. And I say, he's going to give you, some tools that you might be able to use, but then that's about it. And then sometimes I tell off on her, like, she didn't do this or that. Like, I don't know, like, he works as my psychologist, I guess. Like, I can't do this anymore. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. Anyway, but you mentioned, I can't say her name. Say Annie? Annie, right?
Annie Barabé, yes.
I always, like, it was like a, secret I had in me. And I've never said this out loud. And I would look at her and I would want to have lessons from her. I don't know. Like, I'm amazed by her. Like, and at some point, I think she stopped coaching, I think. Because I looked her up and I was like, maybe I should bring up students. And I think she's back coaching again, right? I don't know if you know
Yeah,
this, but.
like every career, you have ups and downs.
Yeah.
And when I joined her and her coaching team was a very good time for her. She had Cynthia Faneuf, which was the youngest Canadian champion.
Yeah.
She had a up and coming couple, Jessica Dubé and Bryce Davison. And she had a lot of up and coming skaters. There was a very good vibe, and she was bringing something fresh to the table.
Exactly.
And that was right at the verge of the new system. And she was very good at knowing what would get bona fide, what the judges would be looking at more deeply into.
Yeah.
So she was at the top of her game at that point of her career. And as I said earlier, career goes up and down.
Yeah.
And that's the same thing for coaches, for choreographers. So yeah, she's trying to reinvent herself right now. Maybe this is a perfect time to rethink of what she can bring to the table now. But yeah, she has a very good vision of what judges are looking at and what will get the most amount of points.
Yeah, at some point I'm gonna ask you for her contact because I probably she could. I don't know how busy she is, but like I'm saying, like I've been always in awe with her. I don't know, her whole thing and the way she treats her skaters. Like I've been next to her at a junior Grand Prix with a student of mine, and I was like, I really like her. Like I don't know her, but I really like. I want to have that. Like I want to learn a little bit from her because it's. I don't know. You were lucky, I guess. I mean, I've been lucky too, but I really, that was something that I never had that I always wanted to try.
Yeah.
So were you superstitious competing?
Absolutely. I think all skaters are a little bit superstitious,
Yeah.
some more than others. And me, it was all like really stupid little things and things that I still do today. For example, I always put my left skate first.
Everybody keeps talking about the left. I do the same. I don't know where that came from. It's like the left one.
It's so weird. And also wiping my blades after every single element that I do.
Okay.
So when I competed, it was very hard not to do that because sometimes at home I would do all my choreography, all my transition, my jumps, my spins, and I would find myself sometime wiping my blades. wiping the snow off, and because I was so used to it. So sometimes I would have dreams at night that I would be competing, and I would be doing that in the competition.
We should talk about
I
dreams.
never did. I never did, but it was one of my fears because I would do it so often. And even now I still do it. And people ask me, they're like,
Yeah.
oh, are your blades like,
Falling off.
yeah, like what's wrong?
What's wrong with you? Wait,
Yeah,
so
but
so did nobody ever thought of like maybe after, I don't know, or before the most difficult jump, or I don't know, like you had a triple axel in the middle, or I don't know, like I don't remember what jumps you didn't like or liked. We can talk about that too. But
mhm.
did anybody ever thought like, oh, and you're gonna choreograph this and wipe it off, and then you're gonna feel comfortable for the next jump?
No, it never came as a thing.
That worked.
But yeah, that's true. I could have used it in the
Mental
choreography.
coaching.
But but it makes me think, now that you mentioned like the triple axel, I was the first skater that ever landed a triple axel at your rink.
Oh,
I don't know
yes.
if you remember.
It was like the ice had just been made again, and then you came for Stars and Ice, and Stars and Ice ended up being a bus.
Yeah.
And you did the
Mm.
first triple axel, and I think Jeremy Abbott did the first quad.
Yes, you're right.
Yeah. And I think there's been more triple axels, but I don't know if there's been
Since.
more quads. Yeah. Huh.
Huh.
You're doing quads now? No, still no, maybe.
No. No, not
Yeah,
anymore. My highest jump is triple lutz, but I still do triple triples like that,
I
like
know.
they're nothing.
I stalk you. I really like what you post. Like I know you, so I laugh, and then
But
like, you post other things, and I don't know. Like I like your skating, and it's interesting, and I don't know.
yeah, but I don't post enough. I look at some
Yeah,
skaters that post like small clips. It's just like 20 seconds of them skating, and I end up watching it a couple of times because I get inspired. I see new things, new variation, intricate steps. And when I train, I basically do 2 hours of those things, and I
yeah.
film it once a week, like a jump.
I
Like
think it's also like we're a different era. Like they're very actual generation with it's like we didn't, I don't know, I know you probably didn't have a phone when you were a young kid, and then like
mhm.
16, 15, 14, 13, I don't know, like you started having one of the cell phones, and then
Yeah.
it went through the changes, so
Yeah, and sometimes I find myself asking someone like, "Oh, did you see what I?" Even if I did, I wouldn't remember.
I'm
But
losing you a little bit.
it because I'm so scared that they're not going to post again.
Yeah.
But in our generation, like every single day, you just keep on posting and posting and posting. So of course, if that person doesn't post every day, you forget about that content. You don't really remember it.
But you have a lot of stuff that you could just be recording, and then maybe, I don't know, like, oh, I'm not doing anything today, and then you post it. I don't know, like bad
Yeah.
bad
The
thought.
only time that during this confinement, the only time that I would post every day was something that made me feel good. Was me just blasting any song on the radio and just dancing, but
I think so.
dancing the most ridiculous things that would not be choreographed. I would just be doing whatever for a couple of seconds, and I would wear the most ridiculous outfits that I could
Uh,
find.
I was a little
And
confused, but then you're Shawn, and you're like very, brave. So when it comes to that, you're like, I can do whatever.
but yeah, I got so many messages of saying, I wish I was as brave as you.
Yeah.
And I've never seen myself as someone brave. I
It's
would,
brave. I mean, many people hide their real personality because they're ashamed that what make or they're afraid of what other people may react like. And if you
Mm-hmm.
look at yourself, like, you are somebody that speaks like what you're doing right now. You're very mellow on your, you know, the way you speak. You're very, you know, you
Yes.
talk and you're telling us what you want, and it's very clear. And all of a sudden you're like, woo! And I'm like, okay, this is Shawn. I know, like,
I'm I'm a puppy. I I will
perfect
have
description.
bursts of energy that are so crazy. But yeah, that's who I am. People that know me
Yeah.
either know that part of my personality and they don't know the calm part. And other people, they know the calm and not that part. But really, it's a good mix of the both. And I really find a balance with being extremely crazy and wild and mellow, soft-spoken.
Yeah, and you
Yeah.
know what? It was funny because I told my husband, like, oh, guess who I'm talking to on Saturday? Because I've been doing this for a while now with the quarantine. Every Saturday at noon, or my noon, I have
Hmm.
somebody and we try and talk, and then I tell you, like, I'm doing that podcast thing. So I said, oh, I'm going to talk with Shawn, and he starts laughing. And he's shaking his head. And I'm like, what? He's like, I still remember the first time I met him. And I'm like, remind me a little bit. It's like he was jumping off the bed. You guys were all in like one of the rooms in Monterey when you came for
Yeah.
service. It was you and I think Jeremy and like me, and we're all like jumping on the bed for some reason, like screaming, having fun, and it's just like so random. And he knocks the door. It's like, "Hi." I'm like, "Hi." I'm a little embarrassed, but this is who we are for real. Don't break up with me, because he was my boyfriend then.
Yeah. I totally remember that night, and that night was one of those where we just let out all our demons and just
Yeah.
be kids again.
Yeah, I think it was because the show was canceled and everybody's like, let's just have fun. And it was like, you know, very low key. Like it wasn't like drinking and going like it was very like just normal. I don't know. I thought it was very normal. Maybe we
It
weren't
was
normal.
it was fun. I've always had great fun with you, whether it was after competitions or whenever I came to Monterey, either to work with you or do seminars, do choreographies. We've always had a blast. We've always connected.
Yeah. I think we're the same. Like many people know this part of us, like, of course. And we're very serious people. And we are. Like, if we say we're gonna
Hmm.
wait, when's your birthday?
January
I know,
14.
that's right. No, we're not Virgos together. But like you are like me. Like we are like very like we center ourselves and we deliver what we say we're gonna do, you know? And
Hmm.
and then when it's time to go crazy, we go crazy. And no, many people know that side, and many people know the other side, and vice versa. But
Yeah.
yeah, I think that's why we click. I have so many pictures of like four continents and you and I think it was Joey.
Yes.
We
Uh,
went all over.
yeah, I remember waiting for you. I knew when the Mexican team would arrive to get accreditations at Four Continents, and I remember waiting in the hotel lobby. And when you would enter the hotel to get your accreditation, I was like, finally, she's arrived. We can have fun. This competition is going to be great. But there
And
was a pre you arriving, and then finally she's arrived. Let's start this.
that's so funny. And I would always get these weird things at accreditation. They'll be like, let me guess. Russian. I'm like, what? Why am I Russian? And they're like, no, 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 don't tell me. You know, like Hungarian. I'm like, okay. And then I would come in with Luis Hernandez, and like Luis
Yeah.
would walk in, and they're like, China, and he would be like, I'm Mexican, man. I'm like, really? Like, not even the color, man. Like, because he's like a little,
Hmm.
you know, like toasty. And it's just funny that it was like always like people trying to guess, and we're like, we came together. And they're like, now we're
Hmm.
very confused. But it was like, yes, we we, the Mexicans, are very loud compared to everybody else and all other nations. So once the Mexican team arrives, people are like, okay, that's Mexico. Like, I don't even need to know in turn. It's Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
Screaming over there. Yeah.
Well, we would all always sit, well, I would always sit with the Mexican team in the audience to
Yeah.
watch my fellow competitors because it was just fun.
It's
It was such a great vibe, a great energy, and we would watch not just the last group, we would watch every single group, and we would try to find positive attributes to every skater. Even if the skater came dead last, we would always find something positive to say about that
I
skater.
think it's because we felt always that we were right there in the middle. Like we were trying to maybe achieve a little bit higher, but like we were kind of getting
Hmm.
off that lower group and trying to like build up. That's a feeling happened in synchro when I started with the synchro team. And
Hmm.
we always try to see the positive from both sides. Like I know how he feels, and now I know what they are doing because I'm trying to train with these people, and I'm trying to be that. And you know,
Exactly.
it's always fun. So yay!
Hmm.
I love
Share.
skating with you. You know, another thing that I never told you, you did my last program, and I did like I was a cheerleader, and you're like, and you
Yeah.
to shake it, and I did. What's it called? Oh, what's it called? You remember the song? You chose it. Uh,
Well, there was a mix of two or
what's her name?
yeah, it
Gwen
was Gwen
Stefani.
Stefani.
Yes.
Yes.
And you chose Gwen Stefani for me. And then I didn't do that much. I ended up just doing nationals, which are nationals end up being
Hmm.
November. So then after that, I remember helping somebody, Donovan. You know Donovan, the guy from Mexico that's like
Yes,
above
yes,
and bottom.
yes.
And I
Yes,
said
I like
like
him.
I mean your step sequence is not gonna get the cut. Like you need a level 4 and you need to understand it. And I was like, I'm just gonna
Yeah.
give you my step sequence. Shawn did a great job, and I've gone a level 4. But you're getting my step sequence. And I remember just like teaching him my step sequence, just like this, and like the accents and everything, and like illusion kicks, and you know,
Yeah.
just went with it and going like this, and da da da, and like it just working so well then. So I never told you
My
that, but yeah.
my step sequences are known to be difficult, but they get the level. Like there's no thinking, oh, is it a 3? Is it a 4? Like it's a definite 4, and there's no arguing about it. It's tough, it's challenging, but you will always get that level. That's for sure.
I was
And yeah,
very grateful that you did not do this thing that you were like, well, my new thing is putting the turns into a hat. And then just, okay, you're going to do a rocker, loop, twistle. I'm like, no, we're not doing that.
well, skaters like you that know their edges and um, don't just want to stick to the rocker counter twizzle. I had this thing where I would literally put all the names. I would have the counters, the rocker, the brackets, the twizzles, the loops, and now the later years I would add the Choctaws in there. And I would literally take out of a hat, and I'm like, okay, next step we do is going to be a rocker. And I would then pick which foot, which direction, and we would slowly build the footwork that way.
That was
It
great.
was fun, and especially you having a lot of ice time. I was
Yeah,
like,
we did.
we're not crushed with time. We can take 18 hours to this program. So
That's fun. Um, So let me ask you more questions because this is a interview
yes,
after all. We're just like bouncing off and on each other.
más preguntas.
Más preguntas, por favor. So, what was your best competition? This is like very, serious.
Yes, the best competition I've ever done would have to be my last competition that I've done, National Championships 2011,
Okay.
where my long program was the Mad Hatter
Yeah, I
from
remember.
Alice in Wonderland, and I choreographed that program myself. And that season, I pretty much trained by myself as well. I was very in my own bubble. I did it for myself. I didn't do it for anybody else. Didn't do it for my coaches or ex-coaches. Didn't do it to showcase my own choreography. I just did it because I wanted to. And I've always wanted to play a character and also trying to compete better. I was thinking if I'm a character, maybe the anxiety and the stress will be a little bit different. And it was. So not only the red wine worked, being a character made me more comfortable out there. And it really helped me out later on for my professional career because I started playing with different characters, with like a mime,
I remember.
with a Cirque du Soleil artist, which I am now, but at that time I was playing the character of a Cirque du Soleil artist. So yeah, 2011 was my absolute best skate ever. And I was present
I know what you
in
mean.
my own soul. I was in control. And that's something that I never felt competing, control. I always felt like, okay, I'm going to my jumps. I hope I land it. But
Really?
this time I was like, I, I didn't have keywords. I didn't even have a thought. I was just present in the moment, in control, got it done, got pluses on everything, clean program, and got the silver medal right behind Patrick Chan.
I always thought you were really sure about everything because you didn't show it. You know, you were like,
I,
of course, everybody.
yes, I have a very hard exterior,
Yeah.
and a lot of people, that's why they don't think that I can be crazy and loco and wild. Um, but also, I was very focused because I knew I was very stressed and a lot of anxiety. So if I allowed myself to be not in control, not focused, it would have been very bad. And yeah, I think I would have been in the first group to compete at every single competition if I allowed myself not to be focused.
Well, I think you hit it really well, and but at the same time, you were able to deliver that artistry and everything. Like you were all like you connected
Hmm.
that as well. Like it wasn't just serious stuff. Um,
The
yeah.
Yeah, that was all training because I knew if I wouldn't be doing clean programs leading up to a competition, because I would always be a downgrade of my own self at competition, sometime like a double downgrade of myself.
Wow.
So if I
Really?
knew if I didn't arrive with clean skates for the past couple of weeks in practice, I knew that it could be a disaster.
Yeah.
So my training really made sure that I would at least show a little bit of my capabilities and my abilities and my uniqueness as well.
Well, that uniqueness you had was very flexible. Tell us about
Hmm.
how you achieved so much flexibility. Were you flexible as a kid and you just continued, or how did like it was amazing? Like people
Yes.
were like, okay, so Shawn, his leg's gonna go up here, and yours is never gonna get, down
I
there.
was I was always flexible, but I'm way more flexible now
Yeah.
than I was when I was a kid. And looking back at my old competitive programs, at that time, it seemed like I had a lot of flexible moves. But if I look at a Jason Brown, his program is filled with it.
Yeah.
And I wish I would have done that because for me, it counts as a transition. It's unique and it really fills out the ice. So looking at my old programs, I'm like, why am I doing crossovers here? Why am I doing a
Well,
spread eagle?
that was
Everybody can do a spread eagle.
that was very
I'm like,
2000 like 4 to like 8, 10. That was very normal. I mean,
yeah.
let me tell you a little story. I was told like, oh, your program was used as a um what's it called, transition,
Mm-hmm.
like a transition example. I was like, oh sure, why? And it was because on my spiral sequence, which they don't exist anymore, I would do a spiral
Mm-hmm.
sequence. I would power pull out of it and do an inside edge into a layback. That's it. That's it. That's the
Yeah.
greatest transition in the whole world. And it was used as an example, like, this is the best transition in the whole World Championship 2009. I was like, no way. If
Yes.
they used it as that, I was like, that's
I
a
think
transition.
I think both of you, both of us, we were victim of competing, getting some marks, but not what we really wanted. And later on, having the judges come up to us and tell us that at their roundtable meetings on the Sunday after the competition is over, that they used us as examples
Yeah.
for transition, uniqueness. And I'm like,
Why
if
isn't it
you're
shown?
bringing this up, why doesn't it reflect in my second mark?
They were learning.
Sometimes and one more thing that we share, we're both in the ISU
Yeah.
example book
Yes.
for spin
I
position.
know. Wait, that was you called it a Y spin, or why is it a Y spin called? Like,
I
okay, tell
I
people what
call
it
it
is.
I call it a Sawyer spin. I think they called it a difficult upright forward spin.
No, no.
Because most people they
Great.
do their flexible their leg up on the back foot, which is much easier to keep your rotation axis.
Okay.
But doing it on a front, you almost have to change edge, so you're more like on a flat. So it's not just lifting your leg, it's twisting your body, it's moving your head, moving your
Huh.
shoulders, opening up your hips in a very unique way that you have to be able to go from a front split to a side split.
Well, yeah. Have you seen more people doing it?
I saw one Russian up and coming junior girl
Okay.
that does a different variation of it, but I've never seen like a copy paste. No, I've never seen it again. Have
Hey, I
you ever
haven't seen.
seen your
No,
spin?
I just don't want it to get lost. Come on, people, learn our spins. That was it was very impressive, and like, yeah, you're right. Like, it never clicked. Like, it's a upright forward because you do turn forward a little bit.
Hmm.
And it never like clicked until you just said it now. Like, yes, I've seen it on the forward, but it never clicked that it's on the forward. You're so correct. Huh.
Hmm.
And you also did the cantilever. What else did you do? Like, you were very like
Yeah.
Russian splits. You were all tricky.
Yeah. I used to spin in both directions as well.
Oh yeah. Well, people do
Um,
that a little sometimes, like just a single camel one way and then turn. I mean, switch.
mhm.
But did you actually do full spins both ways? Could you have done that? No.
Yes. Yes. I remember Michelle Kwan doing
Camel,
that a
camel.
very, very long time ago, and I was always intrigued by it. And when I tried it, it was actually really easy.
It's not that hard
And
once you like know how to position your body. Like now, once you understand how to like do that, it's easier.
mhm. And because I'm a lefty, I would start in the normal direction so people wouldn't clap, they wouldn't
Be like,
realize it right
that's a
away.
camel.
And when I would do the spin in my direction, they're like, oh my God, he's even better reverse.
Reverse. That's so funny. Hey, so what was she your favorite skater, or what were your favorite skaters growing up?
Oh, they they changed all the time.
Okay.
Every season I had a favorite skater. But the one that stayed for the longest, I think, was
Okay.
Kurt Browning, because you never knew what you were gonna get. It
Okay.
was either gonna be so beautiful and magical and powerful and charismatic, or it would be a ticking time bomb that you're like, okay, how does this much talent
Ended up doing
not
that.
be able exactly? Um, and I continued enjoying his performances the best when he turned professional.
Okay.
He would bring something different to the table. He would bring so much of his personality, and he also played with characters,
Yeah, he did a lot.
which I was, yeah, which at the end of my career now, that's something that I'm drawn to. So yeah, I think he would
Yeah.
definitely be on top of my list.
Yeah, at the end of my career, I did like, the spy thing. And I remember
Hmm.
David Wilson did my program, and used to stand next to me, and they're like, okay, so you're going to do James Bond. I was like, we're both doing this. And then she won the Olympics, you did it. I was like, okay, she did it better.
You're like, she stole it.
That's okay.
But
Um,
yeah.
That's funny. I mean, I have another story about loving somebody skating, and then you switch because I had like my all-time favorite, but like I think it was like 2008. I used to just go and stare at Jeremy Abbott and like stare at
Hmm.
his practice sessions, and he'd be like this creepy lady or something, like staring at me, and then I came up to him, and this is like me opening my heart to everybody and like telling you the most embarrassing story, but he agreed. I said to him, "Can I marry your skating?" Like I loved his skating. Yes, you can marry my skating. I'm like, I don't like you. I like your skating so much. I need to have him on so like I can be embarrassing again.
Hmm.
But but he
But
was like, yeah, he was very good.
he's definitely one of those that the music started and he transformed into something completely different.
Yeah.
Like he was showing a different dimension of him. And you didn't always see it in practices, but definitely in competitions, he would step that up. And yeah, he's one of my favorite American skaters, that's for sure.
Yeah, and I made a fool of myself, but then he was his skating was my first husband. So I never divorced him,
But
so don't tell the
I,
authorities. Or it. I don't know. Is skating
I'm
a
sure
him or
he,
an it? Or a
yeah,
her?
I'm sure he was okay with it. He's
No,
such a nice
I
person.
know. I'm kidding. I mean, he was very like nice and like funny about it. So like I can tell this story and not be super embarrassed. Um,
Yeah.
so what else was I gonna ask? How do you like touring versus coaching? Because at first you kind of did a little coaching, right? And then
Yes. I didn't know if the professional skating was going to be a thing for me or how long it was going to be.
okay,
So when I stopped competing, I right away I said, I want to put not all my eggs in the same basket. I want to try as many things as possible. So I started doing seminars, doing choreography, coaching, and still doing shows.
okay,
And after a while, the the phone for shows didn't stop ringing. I kept getting phone calls, emails, texts. I kept getting all of those people, all those different companies, different tours, asking me if I was available to do shows. So I had to let go a little bit of the things that I really enjoyed doing. And doing shows, it's like competing. You can't do it forever. So you have to focus 100% on that.
okay.
So at one point I decided to focus 100% on doing shows because I knew I can always go back to coaching, doing seminars, and doing choreography. And as I said, those things are things that I really enjoy doing and I miss doing right now. And yeah, I've basically have been doing 100% just shows right now,
Yeah.
and it's my favorite thing in the world.
I know. I
I
mean, I can tell because you have all these characteristics to yourself and your flexibility and your
mhm.
ability to connect with the audience. And I don't know, like as you said, you like a little to show off, and that's good. But did you ever imagine it was gonna go this way? Like, I think if you're at Cirque, I don't know, like at first you would have thought that would exist, and I think it's bigger than you ever
Yeah.
thought. I don't know what you think.
It's funny when you're a kid and you have dreams, they never really come to reality, or you find a new reality that sort of resembles what your dreams were.
Yeah.
Uh, but this dream came true.
Okay.
When I started skating, and I discovered Cirque du Soleil, and I knew that it was a company that was used to always pushing the boundaries. I told to myself, if ever they do a show on ice, I want to be the type of skaters that they would hire. Like, and rumors and rumors and rumors during like 15 years that Cirque du Soleil are going to do a show on ice. Oh, it was a rumor. And then again, it was on the table forever and never actually happened. And one day, Kurt Browning, which is one of my very, very good friend now, he called me. He said, I have something for you. And
You can't say
I
no.
did, yes. He's like, and I didn't bring your name up. They have done their research,
Wow.
and the first name that they talked about was Shawn Sawyer.
That's awesome.
And the international headquarters of Cirque du Soleil is based in Montreal. And I live in Montreal. So within a couple hours of that phone call with Kurt Browning, I was in a full-on meetings with the people that were going to build Crystal, the very first Cirque du Soleil on ice.
Well, if 15 years is like any sign, I remember thinking like, oh, I want to have the first Mexican team for synchro that maybe like that qualifies to the Olympics when it goes into an Olympic event. So that was 2008, then
Yeah.
18, 19. So maybe it's coming up soon. They're going to add it to the
Yes.
Olympics. Because it was a dream. So, I mean.
How wonderful would that be?
Right?
Would you be part of the team or just coaching?
Well, if I lose so much weight that I look like another youngster on the team next to the 15-year-old, sure, why not? I mean, if you're doing it and you're super in shape, I mean, I work out too. I can do this.
Yes.
So listen, we don't have that much time left. If you want to say anything, I want to thank you to talking with me, and
Yes.
you know,
It's always a pleasure talking with you, and I've only have positive experiences going to Monterrey. I love going to your rink. I love working with all the other coaches there as well. There's a good synergy there. All the kids were extremely nice, focused, and they brought me as much joy that I was bringing to them, that I was trying to bring to them. It was very it was very give.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't even have words because for me it's like a feeling, and some feelings they don't really have words yet.
Yeah.
But it all comes from positive, and I cannot wait to return again to Mexico.
Just know that the invitation is always open, and I love you so much, and thanks for talking to
I
me.
love you too.
And I have like 30 seconds left, so I want to thank everybody, and I'm going to say goodbye. And you need to send me your phone number because you keep changing it, and I don't have your new phone number.
Okay. And if ever people were a little bit scared to ask questions during this small little chat, you can ask me any question on social media, and I'll respond
He's super
in
nice.
English.
10 seconds, 7, 6. Okay, I'm going to have to say
5,
goodbye.
4.
Love you.
All right. Love you all. Bye.
Bye.